Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I am your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today are two of my members of my team, Jack and Jack. AJ, how you doing, buddy?
I'd say I'm all good, but we'll get into that, won't we? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Tonight, Ash, Mozza is morose.
Morose. Wow, okay,
Word
that's
of the
another
day.
t-shirt. That's
Word of
another
the
t-shirt,
day.
isn't it? Right, let's get into it because we have to. We're here to review the West Ham game from Tuesday night. You know, we've left this an extra day before we recorded this just to let heads clear, be a little bit more calm about the way we approach this response because if we'd recorded this on Tuesday after the game or Wednesday morning, there would have been a lot of swear words flying around. I can absolutely guarantee. And
Yes, yes.
as fun as that would have been for everyone watching, uh, practically probably wouldn't have been great for us. But look, let's get into it. Frustrating result on Tuesday night against West Ham. It's all we get these results against West Ham all the time. We come away 3-2 losers in a game where West Ham have had 4 shots on target and scored 4 goals if you include the one that was offside. We had 30 minutes of absolutely sublime football from Fulham at the beginning of a match that even we were joking amongst ourselves that West Ham are scoring a minute, and they did. Um, Frustrating, annoying, but let's face this how we always do, and just try and get through this before we can sort of look into other things. AJ, I'm going to start with you, buddy. Let's look at the starting lineup for the game on Tuesday. It's pretty much how we called it in the pre-match. It's pretty much what we wanted. We lost the five at the back. How did you feel about that team starting the game? We'll talk about how they actually performed in a minute, but how did you feel about it before the game, and how happy were you to see it the way it was?
Yeah, yeah, I was overjoyed to see the end of this back five, like complete disruption. And to see us with a more traditional midfield. Not entirely comfortable with Andreas and ESR. Again, a lot less legs in midfield when it's those two, even compared to Kenny, which is strange to say when he's, 34 now? Sorry if you're younger than that, TC. But yeah, it, it feels like they're decent on the ball, tragic off of it, but on paper, I was somewhat confident going into the fixture.
Yeah, it's understandable, really, isn't it? You look at it. We were calling for that starting lineup basically, even with ESR and Pereira playing together, because we wanted to see
Mm.
something a bit more going forward. But we're hit with what turned out to be pretty bog standard Fulham, wasn't it? Like we've seen this
Yeah.
way too many times this season, where we've had 25 minutes of a game where we have been not only on top, but we were superb. Like we were absolutely brilliant the first 25 minutes. The football was great. The only thing we lacked was obviously an end product. We at the bar, we came, which was one of those things, but we looked superb. We were joking amongst ourselves in our sort of private group chat that we looked so good. West Ham were going to score with their first shot on target, and we knew it was coming. And this is exactly what happened. I know the first goal
Twice.
was offside. I know, I know it was offside, and then they scored again with their actual first shot on target. Again, where do we even start with the opening goal? Really, you know, and there'll be a lot of people out there bemoaning and behesting Andreas Pereira for what is a suicidal and woeful pass across the goal that he's not even looking where it's going. But argumentatively, he should never have had the ball there in the first place. It should never have got to him. The defending beforehand is slightly lackadaisical. And, as we'll talk about for 2 of the goals tonight, our want and need to pass every single thing around the back and be a bit too cute at the back has bit us in the backside twice in this game. This being the first one. Mozza, how do you describe that first goal, man? How can you even sort of break it down in a way that doesn't make us all want to punch our TVs?
I agree with everything you just said. For me, ultimately, there's one man at fault, and as I hate to say it, it's Bernd Leno. And we'll talk about the other goal as well later, where I believe he was also at fault and ultimately cost us the game. Yes, shoddy defending. When Bassi has the ball, he plays it to Leno, who does have the time and space around him, but he took too much time, and he's surrounded by 3 West Ham players, where he could have just cleared the ball. Plays it to Pereira, like you said, suicidal error, schoolboy error, playing it across goal in your box. You can see the ball, he's trying to make it connect to Anderson, and that just absolutely doesn't go to plan. So on face value, you could go Pereira's at fault there. But I think it was Leno just taking too much time, being too cute, lackadaisical. You've used all the buzzwords I wanted to use, to be honest. So I don't understand why we're playing so deep. And I've witnessed this in the last few games at least, if not, maybe more before. And I don't understand what the tactic is. Yes, I'm all for putting your foot on the ball, playing it across the ground, not just lobbing it. However, in that scenario, if you've not got any options and you're the keeper, you've just got to clear it. But it's a comedy of errors for me. And I don't want to repeat myself later, but I'll be saying very much the same thing if you ask me about the third goal that happens by West Ham. But that's it, cut and dry for me. Leno at full.
We'll get into that because I've got something to say about Leno, but we'll talk about it after the third goal because there's an awful lot of there's some stick about the third goal for Leno, but I will do the basic thing as someone who played in goal and defend him a little bit, but I'll also bash him for the third one. But we'll get to that. The second goal happens 1 minute later, 1 minute and 20 seconds later. Again, shoddy defending. West Ham break. West Ham have obviously got their tails up because they've just scored. Their fans have got behind them for the first time in the game. Genuinely, the first time you heard them in the game.
Yep.
And they again another ball breaks across. I'm a little bit annoyed with Anthony Robertson's defending for the goal, and there'll be a lot of people that are on the why, but he's tracking Souček and then just stops tracking Souček, and then he's left at the back post to tap it in. Like, it's frustrating, it's annoying, but not a single one of us is surprised that we conceded 2 goals that quickly because I tweeted it on Tuesday and I've said it many, many times. Marco really does need to have a word with the players. I love Marco. I love everything he's doing in terms of the style of football we're playing and stuff we're doing. But one too many times this season now, we have been completely bewildered after conceding a goal. We go to absolute pot. It doesn't feel like there's anybody in that defence who's good at keeping their head. And if I was a player who's playing against Fulham, for 3 or 4 minutes after you've scored a goal, just get us because we go to pot. We just completely lose our heads defensively, and I don't know if it's a psychological thing. I don't know if it's just there's a want and a desire to sort of correct mistakes after going 1-0 down to try to get it up the other end of the pitch. I don't know what it is, but mentally, and I think it's a mentality thing. I don't think it's a style of play thing. It's poor. AJ, 120 seconds of football has seen us go from being completely in control of a game, looking comfortable for a good away game and another London derby, to being 2-0 down. How are you feeling at that? How do you describe without just going Fulham?
I mean,
What the fuck's going on?
30 minutes of basically having 80% of the ball. And then you manage to somehow concede a goal. Fine, not really, but we've gone through that. Once the goal is conceded, it's our kickoff. How are we losing the ball within 120 seconds or whatever it is, or 1 minute 20 or whatever? How are we losing the ball within 1 minute 20 from our kickoff? Like, that's just like, we've just shown for a half an hour we can retain the ball. Yeah, we might not create anything, but at least calm the pitch back down again. Relax the tempo of the game. Like, don't do anything stupid. What did we do? We did something stupid. Credit to Kudos. I'm not going to sit there and go, and completely dismay West Ham and not give them the credit they deserve. Kudos did incredibly well, retaining the ball there, dribbling into a position where he could lay it off to somebody. And then from there, that cross to the back post was exceptional. And then Wan-Bissaka ability to just put it back into a dangerous space, sublime. I'd be happy with it if it was a Fulham goal, and I'm not going to take any credit away from the West Ham players who created that opportunity, because it's the one clear-cut chance they clearly created all game, and it's fair to them that they scored it. As for our defending, Robinson is chasing Kudos and then has to give it up because Kudos gets ahead of him. It then gets left to Bassi, who Kudos wiggles away from Bassi, at which point the next defender that he moves along in the order should be Anderson, who I'd hope, with an oncoming player coming into his direction, would be comfortable to step up and snatch the ball off of him. But he doesn't. He stands, he holds back, gives Kudos the space to pass into the to the opposite winger. I can't remember his name. Apologies, West Ham fans that are watching. I'm not clearly clued in on your squad as much as I should be. But it passes off to the other winger, which I then ask the question, why isn't Castagna marking him? Or why isn't Wilson tracking him? Like, how are you allowed that much time and space in the opposition's box to just sit there, pick your head up while you've got possession of the ball in the opposition's box, change your feet, and then play the ball across? At that point, you've switched the play. We have to chase the ball. So we all move over, we all chase the ball. Robinson's out of position. I'm not going to beat him up too much for not marking Soucek, because when the ball gets switched, you have to move over. That's what happens. It's part of football. At that point, it's an entire mess of our own dysfunctional defending. And as I said, I give credit to West Ham players for the way they created it. But two players in the box there should not have had as much time or space as they were given. At all. Kudos, perfect. As an attacking player, as a player with ball to feet, did exceptionally. But the rest of it is on us, and we really need to be ironing out these ridiculous defensive errors. Yeah, it's great that we've scored in every game bar 2 this season, and ironically, those are probably the two of the lowest scoring games that we've played this season, with one of them being 1-0 and the other one being 0-0. That's a given. But it shouldn't be, we can be defensive or we can be attacking. There needs to be a middle ground. I know we lost Paulinho, but surely losing him hasn't been that significant in our ability to keep a clean sheet. Anderson is stronger than Diop in a defensive manner. He is a better defender. Granted, his recent form is horrific, but on paper, we've improved our defense from last season. What's happening? Someone explain it to me, because I'm lost. And
this is what I'm saying. I think it's a mentality thing. It's a mentality thing, isn't it? There's a problem. The problem here isn't the coaching, because the coaching hasn't changed since last season. It isn't the way we're set up, because other than when we were playing 5 at the back, it's still the same formation we played for the last 2 years. Nothing's changed there, right? And the only thing that has changed in that defense really is Anderson coming in, because Castagna still played a massive chunk of the games last season, and we look at it like that. My worry there is we go 1-0 down, inevitably we go 2-0 down. Too many times this season we have seen Fulham come out, completely control games for 25 minutes, concede with the very first shot on target, because I'm not even joking when I say that. I think I look back today, 4 games this season we've conceded with the opposition's first shot on target. Something's wrong there. Mentally, something's not quite right. Either there's not enough talking going along between the players, there's confusion about sort of where they're meant to be, and you're absolutely spot on in what you said about Castagna not moving over or Wilson not tracking back. You cannot give Aaron Wan-Bissaka the amount of time he had on the ball to put it back across the goal as you gave him. on Tuesday night because he's always going to make the most of it, and he did, and it's shocking. Let's look at the rest of the first half where not much happened. We sort of huffed and puffed for a little bit to try sort of get back into the game. Really, really struggled. We go in at half time. Every single one of us are frustrated, annoyed, angry, worried about some of the performance that we've seen. I very, very concerned about spending £35 million on Emil Smith Rowe
Oh, don't
because
start.
I'm struggling to understand where his quality is coming from at the moment. I understand he's coming back from injury and there's some confidence issues there, but I've seen too many times this season him jogging around the pitch, not really getting involved, almost looking like he's trying not to get involved,
He's
and
playing like an Arsenal player.
basically just ghosting in the team. Now, I'm not here to bash him completely because I like him and I want to see him succeed. But when you play for a football club like Fulham, right? I've always said this since we were in like the third division and I was a kid. I've always been taught one thing as a Fulham fan. You cannot bemoan a player not being good enough as long as they're putting the effort in. Because if they're not good enough at putting the effort in, right, it's their ability that's the problem, not their work rate. When you see someone playing poorly and jogging around like he's just warming up over the common, ready for a Sunday league game, there's a mentality issue there, and you can't behest a player maybe not quite being right, but you can be so angry at the effort being put in. It's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to see. None of us want Emil Smith Rowe to flop at Fulham, not just because we spent £35 million on him, but because we most of us like him. I think he's a really nice lad. I think he fits in really, really well, and he's really good for the morale of other players. But you can't get away with the performance he put in first half against West Ham on Tuesday night. You can't do that in a Fulham shirt. You might get away with that at Arsenal, where you've got 10 other world-class players around you. You just can't do that at Fulham, and it's frustrating. We go into the second half, obviously, on Tuesday night, and we're all sat there going, look, we have to score the first goal. We have to be the team that scores the first goal back after the break. And we get a little bit of fortune with our goal to make it 2-1, as much as Raul Jimenez attempted to make it like he touched it. It's clearly an Iwobi goal straight through. If I was a West Ham fan, I wouldn't be too happy with the goalkeeping for it. But, he's obviously anticipated Jimenez getting a touch on the ball that just didn't come, and it beats him. 2-1, we're back in the game. We're looking like we're good and we're going to be strong and we're coming forward again and we're pressing and we've got West Ham worrying. And then Bernd Leno, I can only assume, forgot he was in a competitive game of football. I don't really know what happens. He gets the ball passed back to him. He's got 15 meters of clear space and just dillies on the ball. And Danny Ings encroaches a little bit. And then he still dillies on the ball a little bit longer. And Danny Ings encroaches a little bit more. And then he still dillies on it. And then Danny Ings then pounces. And Bernd Leno fluffs his lines, will go straight to a West Ham player who shoots and scores. I don't really know how to describe the goal other than Leno's just completely fluffed it. It's frustrating. It's
I
angry. It's
do.
annoying.
I do. It's
Please
five-a-side
do it.
football
Please.
is what that is. That is five-a-side football. That is something you see in clips of people's Sunday leagues on You Being Framed. It's not professional football in the slightest. It's not.
No.
As Jack mentioned earlier, when you get into that position, you clear your lines. Boot the damn ball away. Doesn't matter if it goes out for a throw-in. Get it away from your own box if you've got no passing options. And then while it's out of play, complain to your players, I've got no passing options. Be vocal, be strong, be instructive of what you're doing, but do it once you're clear. Don't no, too late. Let's.
Well, It's well put. That's exactly it. That's exactly it, isn't it? Like, number one rule of football, you're told as a goalkeeper, as a player, as a kid, when in doubt, put it out, right? Dilly's on it too much, and it's amateur, and it's disgusting, and it's bad. I, however, am going to come to Leno's defense slightly, and say that he's got a lot of people absolutely vying for him on social media after the game. Rightly so, he's made a mistake. Let him put his hands up to it. But I'll let him off mainly because he's kept us in more games this season than he's made mistakes to cost us anything. And because of that, he's probably got some credit in the bank to not be going at him too much about it. But it's frustrating, and we go again. We then see Fulham make a few changes, and we start attacking again, and we start going for it again. We then score a second goal through Iwobi, basically carbon copy of the first goal, where he's just trying to put the ball across in the middle of the goal. Harry Wilson's attempted to touch it, clearly hasn't. It's gone back in again. If I was a West Ham fan, I'd be going nuts on a goalkeeper for conceding that goal. We've gifted them 2 goals in this game. They've gifted us 2 goals in this game. The only real difference is obviously the one moment of absolute magic from Kudos, and then by Wan-Bissaka for them to score their second goal. That pretty much separates us. We ignored the fact we've also hit the bar twice in this game. And that is exactly what that is. We come to the last 10 minutes of the game. Mozza, we make another couple of substitutions. We bring on Tom Kearney. We bring on King. And we look really comfortable going forward again. King deserves a lot of praise because he did something that I've not seen anyone do in a very long time. And that's put Wan-Bissaka on his backside while trying to dribble past him. Puts a lovely ball across the pitch that Lukic, probably the one player of ours you don't really want at the end of that, sort of has a tame shot that hits the defender, and then somehow Adama Traore has missed the goal by 15 yards from 4 yards out.
I'm not surprised you almost forgot him, because he clearly forgot he was on the pitch for most of that second half.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. How do you explain that last bit of football, Mozza? Was it just headless attacking, just us trying to get back in desperately? Because as much as, again, we looked like we had West Ham there, we also didn't look like we were ever going to score. And it's a frustrating thing for us to see. We've had enough of this impotence up front. But how do you describe the rest of that game? Because it's shocking.
Yeah, headless chickens. I'm a big fan of Josh King, like you just said, Ash. I think, it's weird for me to call someone a kid, but I suppose he is in all those terms of like footballers' ages and how their careers are defined by that. But I think he's got a massive, exciting career ahead of him, most of which I hope is at Fulham, the way he's playing. Back to the game. Yeah, bit of a goal now scramble again. It goes again back to what we're saying about having no end product. Look at the 2 goals we scored. Iwobi, those were crosses, and they're 2 dummy goals effectively, aren't they? So maybe if Wilson and Jimenez got on either of those, you could argue they're still going in anyway. But, it just sort of gives a bit more kind of a raised eyebrow to the fact that that's been the only way that we've scored this evening. The other evening. The Traore miss. You look at it, Lukic should have put that away. Just should have. But it's very close. And if Lukic hasn't put it away, Traore's got to put it away. He's obviously leant back, skyrocketed the ball, and it's ended up somewhere, Chelmsford, Essex. Who knows where it's gone? But you can't be missing those opportunities, and it makes me think maybe we've got some sort of curse. I don't know, or is it just it's just Fulham, as we always say? Oh, it's Fulhamish. This is what we do. Just to quickly go back to what you were saying about ESR earlier, my view on him is he just seems to run out of steam and become complacent. But I think that kind of a lot of the squad has this sort of vibe where we're halfway through the season, we've got all these opportunities. We're talking about pushing for Europe, yet the whole Robin Hood thing, we're going to lose points against teams that we should be beating on paper, or what have you. Like, has the whole team just sort of lost a bit of steam? And for what reason? For why? AJ mentioned earlier about the coaching, team hasn't been changed, or the style of football as such. Maybe there's a lack of Louis Morte there. That's the only thing I can think of, but not to blame him. Like, you can't just put it all down to one man or a change of personnel. Sorry to give you a round the houses answer anyway about Traore, but I just had to sort of get that out. We need to be doing better. I can't really say anything more.
No, I think if we'd done this recording on Tuesday night after the game and we were asked to give every single player a rating, nobody is getting above a 4. Absolutely nobody. Because some of the football, considering how good we were for the first half an hour, this is the frustrating thing for me, is I was literally sending messages to people after 25 minutes of the game going, we've been brilliant so far. Barring scoring a goal, we've been absolutely brilliant. And then between 25 minutes and 70 minutes of the game, it's just absolutely chaos. Defensively, like, attacking, we look like we've got no idea, and it's frustrating. And we need to put the game behind us ultimately as a fan group, as a football team. It needs to be written off. Like, it didn't happen, and let's not get too frustrated about it. Because it's the only way that any of us can spare any ability to not completely lose it about it. Lads, let's finish this review of the West Ham game like we always review. I want you to give me some honourable mentions, the man of the match somehow, and we will go from there. I'm going to start with you, AJ. I don't know who or how or where you're going to find one, but give me a man of the match and some honourable mentions, please, and we'll go from there.
Do I have to?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'm going to hold you to it. Go on.
I assume you just wanted the recording to go on for an extra 30 minutes then, because I'm going to really struggle to pick anyone, frankly. Oh, like, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ wasn't playing, but go on.
No, we probably could have done with him, to be fair. We needed a goddamn miracle that game.
Yeah, there you
go. Josh King for his cameo, I guess. Iwobi for pulling 2 goals out of his arse. Robinson for the easiest 2 assists he'll ever get in his career. I'll give my man of the match to Raul Jimenez. He worked hard. He did what he needed to do. He hit the crossbar a couple of times. He didn't miss any open goals or any clear-cut opportunities that we can lay blame on. He worked hard. He did what he could with what we presented with him. Raul Jimenez is my man of the match.
It's a fair shout, I think. I think it's a fair shout. Mozza, what about you, mate? Give me a man of the match, and if you can, any honourable mentions, but we won't hold our breaths.
That's all right. I was just going to say Iwobi, whether he meant to score those goals or not, but he did put in a few crosses. Like AJ just said, there was one for Jimenez earlier, the early one as well for Wilson, both hitting the bar, I think. If I'm right, I think he did both of those crosses. But yeah, and got both goals. Honourable mentions, I would have said Josh King, but yeah, he wasn't on the pitch very long. And again, agree with AJ. I thought Jimenez put in, not bad performance, but yeah, he had a better work rate than most.
He's the shiniest turd of the bunch.
Yeah. You know what? My only honourable mention is Josh King. I thought he came on, he was great. And we have got a young player there that's going to be a star at some point. He just needs a bit more polishing, a bit more, game time, and he'll come and he'll be good, and he will come good for us. Man of the match, I agree with AJ. Raul Jimenez is probably the only player that could probably come out of that game and said, I did everything I was meant to do correctly. Barring scoring a goal, he did pretty much everything that we should probably expect from him. Everybody else had moments in the game where at least made a few mistakes. There are some players that if I was given the scores out of 10, I'd give zeros, ESR being one of them. AP a close second in the third awards. But
Leno,
it is what it is. That we need to move on. We need to as a club, as a fan base, move on and talk, and we'll get on about it. Lads, thanks for joining me for this review. If you're watching this, we have an episode basically coming out straight away after, which will be our Leicester preview for the game on Saturday. Let's hope a wholly more positive experience as for us as well as you guys watching. But other than that, come on, you Whites, and see you guys soon.